This is a reinterpretation of a Swedish folk story that was originally translated by Anna Wallenberg. I, James, have taken the time to reorganize this in a way that seems to make more sense for me. This is not a comment on the original work, just an adaptation. That being said, a lot of the themes and concepts in this intro are not representative of the Uncharted North Network and how we personally feel. It just was part of the story to keep it in, and it felt disrespectful to remove it. Part 3. Soon after he left the cover of the brush, Lars sped past his brother, who called after him, "Only 30 minutes left, Lars. Don't mess it up." Hunched low to his saddle, Lars pushed his steed, and he barely heard his brother as he rode past. Lars kept riding as if something was chasing him, because he believed there was. Out of the corner of his eyes, Lars could see something lumbering behind him. Something big and grayish. But whenever he turned around, he only saw the empty path. Soon Lars passed his father, who too called to him, with all of the fatherly encouragement he could muster for his son. "You'll never make it. Now you will lose her. I told you to be on time. Hurry now." Because Lars definitely needed this kind of fatherly critique at this particular moment. He kept pushing his horse, urging it faster, and soon it took off. The horse left the ground and began to fly. With only a single minute left, Lars reached Lisa's house, but the horse flew over the gate and right through the side of the building. With a sweet action movie style tuck and roll, Lars quickly recovered from the crash. His hair tousled, his new leather jacket ripped. But he made it. He made it, and his love Lisa ran right into his arms. Lars pulled her tight with a smile. Everyone rejoiced that Lars was on time, including Lisa's father, who was shocked, but satisfied, as he knew his daughter truly loved this tardy man. And since that day, Lars has never been late again. Even on days where he started his journey very, very, very late, he would always make it on time. No one knew how Lars managed to ride so fast, but Lars knew whose doing it was. Hey there, creatures, and welcome to Encounter This, a podcast exploration of the creatures from Pathfinder 2nd Edition and the lore that surrounds them. Hello there, creatures, and welcome back to another episode of Encounter This. Today is part 3 of Trollvember, subtitled Hybrid Theories. I'm not really sure why, but the word hybrid now always reminds me of Underworld. I am your host, James Bartholomew J. Troll, and leading the pack this week is Freeman Cohen the Barbarian. And we're going to be taking a look at a bunch of stuff today, starting with Bloodlord's Adventure Path, Book 1, and Bestiary 2, page 266 through 268.
That is
a lot
correct.
Of physical movement in that one there buddy.
Instead of interrupting you with weird quips and laughter and sounds, I thought I'd go for more of a visual approach.
Just doing your best red skeleton over there.
Yeah. It'll make for great audio on the podcast feed.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, Trollvember Part 3. Let's talk more trolls because there are more trolls, and that's literally why we're doing it. This is a bit of a different suite of trolls in a way. The first one we had some classic ones with great nice variations. Part 2 was kind of beefed up normal trolls and one kind of offshoot. This one we're going to get into like kind of effectively 4 different creatures, but 3 really properly different kind of approaches. And they're all kind of loosely related to each other. And we're going to get into a little bit of experimentation. That's French, listeners, for experiments. interpretations.
We're also going to do about an hour of pop culture lore this episode, so hold on to your butts.
Oh yes, of course. We're going to be doing a tremendous amount of pop culture as far as but the document reads.
Yeah, I can probably breeze through in about 20 minutes.
That's cool. But let's get started with something called, and this is coming from an AP, so spoilers, Bloodlords. But it's early on, and something called a tombstone troll. There you go. It's a little bit cartoony, but it is kind of a weirdly grotesque creature. They sort of resemble their former selves, but are sort of a mockery at the same time. They're small creatures. They are bloated from starvation and have a very sickly appearance. Their teeth and fingernails and hair are falling out from rot and then regenerate every few days in like an endless cycle, which is apparently very painful and very sickening to observe. Now, how did they come to be this way? It is because when life-threatening wounds caused by necromantic or negative energies, now referred to in the remaster as void energy, these energies become intertwined with the regenerative abilities of trolls, and then it somehow becomes a literal part of their physiology. This thing that should have killed them becomes a part of them. They are not undead, however, but the energy inside is constantly eating at their body and their soul, which causes them to shrink down and become these like sickly things.
I did not expect that at all.
Right? But I guess when you find yourself in the land of undead and with probably lots of necromantic and negative and void energies, these sorts of things be happening. And these trolls are basically despised by all other trolls. They are shunned. And if a troll does come across a tombstone troll, it takes a moment to pity them and then quickly reverts to disgust and goes in for the kill and just slaughters them.
Oh my god.
Why not? That's what troll do.
Proper 360 there.
Yeah. It's like, oh, that sucks for you. Dead. No big deal. So, but then that being said, it's not a very common occurrence because tombstone trolls also shun confrontation of all kinds. Like they don't want to fight, which is very different from the norm. In fact, they actually get their name because they have a habit of digging up graves for an easy meal that can't fight back. Which is actually kind of funny because it's occasionally problematic because grave robbing does tend to sometimes rise the dead and they sometimes attack. But it's their best middle ground at the end of the day. It's the grave rob for their meals.
Right. You go for dinner and you accidentally create a specter somehow.
Yeah, exactly.
Imagine that every time you went for Thai food, you created a ghost.
Oh no. I mean, every time I go for pho and I get extra spicy, I make a kind of a ghost of myself after.
Yeah, I think that's more giving up the ghost.
Yeah. That'd be the one. So these creatures basically they will burrow and stay underground for like days at a time. And they dig their way up just to eat another corpse and then back down to safety. But they have that constant hunger because it needs to be like they kind of need to feed the regeneration because they're constantly being gnawed at by this negative energy. If the food runs out, they'll travel to find new feeding grounds at night to avoid being spotted, preferably landing in another graveyard. If they travel, it becomes too long and the hunger becomes too great. However, that's when they will attack the living, but only in desperate moments, acts of desperation, basically.
Okay. That's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So just to confirm, their hunger is greater than regular trolls because of the negative energy flowing through them. Is that what I'm picking up on here? I
think it's more of a. I don't think it's what's called greater so much as it is a need, much more of a need of for survival. So I think that negative energy is like really impacting them. So they're going to die naturally very quickly. So they have to
Okay.
feed to stay alive, which sounds like a redundant sentence, but it's for different reasons than the usual,
Well,
right?
yeah. It sounds like what you're talking about here is more like cellular regeneration brought on by feeding, as opposed to feeding because you're hungry as hell.
Yeah. I mean, there is something to be said about trolls like needing to fuel their regenerative abilities, right? And that does come up a little bit later too. But yeah, this one's even further than that. They have to counteract the thing that's kind of destroying them from the inside on top of it.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And we should say for the audio listeners, this looks like a shrunken down green troll. It does still hold on to some of those porcine features like the snoot, and it's got some pointy ears, but it also clearly has like I want to say boils on its arm, or like rotted flesh that's painted
sort
yellow
of blisters
and red for some reason.
Yeah. I don't know. Their artwork leaves a little bit to be desired, I think, in this case. It's just like not as visceral as the others.
I would not pick this up as like a grave troll if you pointed this to me. I thought when I was loading these images into OBS, I thought this was a mistake and this was a variant art for the green troll. So I went and looked it up.
Yeah. But I mean, yeah, it's fine. I have one last little fact for this creature, and it's kind of messed up, and it's connected to the fact that they do want to survive, but they sort of have a way of breeding, which is by stealing infant trolls. They steal infant trolls, and then they nearly kill them, and then they expose them to their own grave breath ability and hope that the energy takes hold in the victim, just like it did to them. And then they have new baby tombstone trolls.
Okay.
My last note on that is that's fucked up. it's like holy crap.
Definitely sounds
I'm not really
more
sure
like being
why they want more
into a cult than reproduction.
It's just exactly because it's like, more of them means less food for an individual. Also, I guess they are actively and intelligently trying to push the same kind of, not curse, but issue upon a new I don't understand the motivation behind it, but there it is. That's how they do it. So
if I had to guess, it's like a childish motivation. It's one of those if I can't have it, nobody can, or I don't want to be alone kind of thing, or spread my pain.
Right.
You know, like a very
loves
childish
company
mentality. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. Maybe that's it. Maybe it's just as simple as that. Kill them with fire. Let's talk about the troll hound. Let's talk about the troll hound, which I feel like there's a part of me that feels like you're going to be excited for the troll hound. I don't know why. Like I feel like you gravitate towards hound creatures in some capacity, but this troll hound.
I like the idea of dogs more than I like the concept of dogs. Like I always want a dog, and then I think about the work that's involved in it, and that's why I gravitate toward these creatures.
Yeah, that's fair. So as you can imagine, especially by this artwork, squat, bulky, and basically a troll were it in canine form. It's pretty straightforward.
For our audio listeners, this looks like a green boiled keymaster.
It really does. You will notice, however, they are covered in weeping sores, which is a lovely thing. And that's because they carry a very awful contagion known as bloodfire fever, which causes any who contract it to feel a deep burning pain as if their blood were on fire. You could also expect other symptoms such as loss of muscle coordination, pus-filled blisters, and major fatigue. Despite the trollhound looks, them and like actual other trollkin are immune to the major effects of the affliction. So it's got the old blisters there, but everything else not really bothering it. So,
I mean, those blisters are enough, I think. Like, kind of sounds like it's just a dog that just is a carrier of leprosy.
Yeah, basically. That's basically it. Wow. So the first trollhounds were actually an unexpected result of an experiment, and where wargs were alchemically injected or whatever with troll blood, alchemically prepared troll blood. The hope, for some reason, was to create an ooze with regenerative properties. I'm not sure where warg comes in for ooze, but that was apparently the attempt. But of course, most of the wargs died, and those who survived had a really funny trade. They lost their cunning and replaced it with the famous troll appetite and regenerative ability. So I think it was a lose-lose on that experiment.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like a win for anybody involved.
No, not really. Well, except for sort of other trolls, because they have an instinctual bond with troll hounds. So they have managed to very successfully domesticate, train, and even befriend them as pets. And it's pretty much the perfect fit for a troll and no one else, because others have had very little luck, mostly because everything is stacked against them. Disease, ravenous hunger, that's never really properly sated, and a quick to bite temperament. Trolls are basically built to deal with this creature, and that's about it.
Right.
So
vicious.
With that in mind, they obviously work together well should they go hunting. And the trolls are basically pretty fearless, or sorry, the troll hounds are pretty fearless. And they have a great sense of smell for tracking, and they have the greatest motivator in the world: constant hunger. So they basically will eat constantly in order to maintain their metabolism, which is required for the regeneration. So there's that little bit built right into the lore. And but they are dumb enough that not even fire gives them pause when they're attacking their quarry, because they don't understand the danger that it actually presents to them. And but it is no less dangerous to a troll hound, and their regenerative abilities are no less powerful than a troll's. So these things can be pretty wicked, and they're going to be a little more exacting, ever so slightly more exacting than a troll. The fire just won't scare them.
Yeah, these things are wild. I actually really like all the lore you've presented so far, both this and the Grave Troll. I think they're both very interesting additions to the family.
Yeah.
And I guess I should clarify for a few of those audio listeners. The Keymaker is the demon dog from Ghostbusters. I keep trying to figure out what else this looks like what else I can relate it to.
Yeah.
And I can't. It legitimately just looks like one of the devil dogs from Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
Spray painted green.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. I got graffitied.
Yeah. So check out the YouTube video, or if your memory fails you, or just Google Ghostbusters. Is it the Keymaster and the Gatekeeper?
Something like that. Yeah. It's been a hot minute for me.
Yeah.
I'm sure you'll find it fast enough though.
Yeah.
So 1E offered a little bit. There was no 1E stuff for Tombstone Trolls because it's a brand new creature for 2E. 1E offered a little bit more, or pretty much the same stuff, but our typical physical measurements. So you can expect them to be about 4 feet tall at the shoulder and about 350 pounds. So they're big boys. And their skin is kind of scaly, patchy greenish black fur, oversized jaws with a nice prominent underbite, and eyes that are, quote, dull and hateful orange. Which I kind of liked, I guess. We have a 1E troll artwork too, if you want to put that up real quick.
Oh.
Should be the next one. Yeah, there you go.
Oh, wow. Okay.
That's a chunky boy.
Yeah, that is presented as much larger.
Yeah. And you can see the skull, the humanoid skull and its front paws.
Yeah.
just hanging out.
Huh.
That's my teddy bear.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
This kind of just reminds me of Sully from Monsters Inc.
Kind of does too. There we go. We got 2 pop culture references on the fly.
Ugh.
You heard it here first. Encounter this.
Yeah. For our audio listeners, this just looks like a bulkier version of the original one. I can't think of any particular references before or currently, but you'll often see in 60s, 70s cartoons where somebody refers to their dog as Fluffy and it comes out and it's this monster pit bull.
Yeah.
That's what this feels like.
Yeah. That reminds me of a friend of mine said one time, he said, if I ever have a daughter and she grows up, and he does have one now, she grows up and she starts dating in her teens, I'm going to have 2 dogs. in the basement, and I'm going to have, I'm going to have 2 dogs. One of them is going to be the like something like the Destroyer. We're going to name it the Destroyer, and then there's going to be one that we keep in the basement that basically make it ravenously hungry and angry, and it's going to be called Pickles. And when she brings her boyfriend over, I'm going to be like, which dog do you want to take for a walk? The Destroyer or Pickles? They're going to pick Pickles, he said. And if he could survive the walk with Pickles, he could date my daughter. It's a ridiculous strategy, but
yeah, maybe Uncharted North does not endorse this kind of sexism, blatant sexism, or animal abuse.
He would never. He's got a lovely, lovely, I think, Australian Shepherd named Sam.
Okay, that's good.
Anyway, let's move on from the hounds. Okay. Let's talk about the hybrid 2-headed troll. So if you can imagine, if you picture a troll and then kind of put it upright, not hunched over, and then move one head to the side, and then put another head on the other side, and then point of reference, give it a 13-foot tall stature and about 1,700 pounds, you've got a 2-headed troll. Congratulations. We've skipped the gross part of how it became a 2-headed upright troll. And you might ask, what is the gross part? We're not going to skip it, actually. Picture an Etten. Picture a troll. Put them in an alcove, close the curtain, put on some Barry White. That's how you get a 2-headed troll. And you know who did this first? Some crazy, crazy cult of Lamashtu, mother of monsters.
Why? Who else would it be?
Why, you ask? I have no idea. I think you would probably have to ask them or be in the same mindset as wanting to join said cult. But there you go. That's your result. Upright 2-headed troll. Pretty straightforward.
It actually just looks like a green Etten with 2 troll heads, listeners.
That's pretty much it. Yep.
Yeah. This artwork is perfect.
If you remember much about the Etten episode, it's pretty similar in its nature. And this is a pretty much smashed together, same half and half of these features. So they don't really care about this origin for themselves. They have no particular love for the mother of monsters. They basically have the dual-minded nature of an Etten. And they have the thirst for bloodshed and unquenchable appetite, regenerative properties of a troll. And you can expect them to be wandering around, arguing with each other and attacking on sight. There was a little Mother Goose-esque thing built into the lore where parents would scare their children in order to get their chores done by, saying, oh, if you don't get them done, you might be swallowed by the 2-headed troll, which is terrifying. It stems from this little bit of lore from the 2-headed troll where they have a term for a creature that is small enough to eat in one bite, and they call them nibbles. The troll calls them nibbles. It's like, I want a nibble. And children, I'm sure, just the perfect bite size.
Yeah. Wow.
All right, Johnny, go muck out the barn or see you become a nibble. Johnny's just walking down the pasture, bawling his eyes out.
Uncharted North also does not recommend parenting via fear.
No, we don't. So far, we're having a whole bunch of lessons of what not to do as a parent.
Wow.
Yeah.
Not that we're parents, but
no. Only ever to and now with animals.
Yes, correct.
And sometimes employees.
Where's my air horn sound effect?
That's 2-headed troll. Very straightforward. What is less straightforward is the next one, which is known as the Jotund troll, which is
what?
Which is sort of like a 2-headed troll, but if you make it bigger and you add 7 more heads for a total of 9. Yes, I know you can't see them all. Some of them are on the back. You now have a Jotund troll. And they are not in any way related to the Etten, although it does stand upright. The thing about the Jotund troll is, of course, the origin is not strictly clear, but it is believed they represent the closest thing to the original primordial troll that once plagued the world. which were believed to have arisen from the mythical world of Jotengard within Elysium, which is the sort of current chaotic good heaven kind of outer sphere world, which is the same home of the deities of giant kind. So in that little theory right there, we are getting our connection of trolls to giants, which is effectively explains why they have the giant trait and not just the troll trait, and sort of explains probably why a troll and an Etten can be made at all, if we want to get kind of picky on the ecology of it. And then the Jotun troll here being something very closely related to what is supposed to be the original primordial troll, which is effectively, it's believed actually that they were created as either a punishment or a challenge for the material world. So deliberately created, presumably by giant kind deities, and put onto the material world.
Here's a 9-headed gauntlet. Good luck, people.
Yeah, basically. Why? No one knows. In fact, the Jotun troll doesn't even know. They care very little for at all, or really at all, for this apparent purpose that they might stem from. And you might think that having 9 heads makes for more issues than, like, say the 2-headed version constantly arguing itself, but it's actually the opposite. They actually work. They are independent minds, and they do constantly bicker, but they actually work in tandem and coordinate very, very well. And we'll kind of see that reflected in the stat block a bit. The only thing really is that they argue about who's going to eat what, even though they share the same stomach. I think they all just want to taste. So that's the big thing. And you can expect them to be solitary, if not strictly loners. But they're alone, air quotes, always, and they are always pissed off, apparently. So they just they're a no-go zone. Yeah. So you could usually find them in frigid environments, preferring moors, marshes, and wastelands, which is pretty classic. But they also tend to gravitate towards magic warped wastelands that for no one really knows why, but like the mana wastes and like radiation filled badlands of Numeria, you're more likely to find them there than many other places.
Right.
But that's the Jotun troll. That's the trolls so far, lore wise.
All right. That's solid. I think these are my favorite.
The Jotuns? They're pretty cool.
Not the Jotuns, but I mean, like, I actually really like trolls? I actually really like the lore of the Tombstone Troll, even if the artwork leaves something to be desired.
Yeah.
I also really like the Trollhound. I didn't think I was gonna like it that much.
This is just like it feels like variety compared to what we've covered before, right?
Yeah.
So far. It's like even the first 3 had cool, different, unique flavors, but they were effectively the same creature at its base.
Yeah, they were Mortal Kombat-esque palette swaps.
Right, exactly. So, these ones have more. They have, and they all have these sort of like, that's why I kind of called this episode hybrid theories. They have this element of hybridness to all of them in some capacity.
Gotcha. It's not a Linkin Park reference that I'm waiting on the edge of my seat for.
It's that too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Waiting for that shoe to drop.
It certainly is that. And the fact that we, all these origins are never really confirmed. So it's all theory. Right. I thought it was a triple entendre or whatever you want to call it.
I mean, shout out to Linkin Park. That was a good album.
Rest in peace, Chester Bennington.
Heard.
Let's talk about pop culture, James. Lay it on me. Tell me about all the things I don't know because I'm shut out from the world.
Okay. This is this is gonna get deep in a way that I hope I prepared you for.
Okay.
Okay. So this is by no means an accurate and complete representation of trolls in pop culture. This is a very quick examination of them through different genres and themes of pop culture, as well as them appearing in our world.
Okay.
Doesn't make sense yet, but it will.
Okay.
All right. So we're going to start. I don't know what this is.
Sorry. That's the other Jotun's troll from 1E. I forgot we had that. Yeah.
Perfect.
There it is. Enjoy.
Explains why I don't know what this is. This is just another
that's not my pop culture reference.
Troll. This one's a little more porcine than the rest, but
it is. Yeah.
It's great. I can't tell if that's a regular sized tree or a tiny tree in the background.
Could be a
looks
sapling.
large.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's a proper tree. Yeah, those things are massive.
Yeah. Okay, so we're going to start in 1959 with these.
Of course we are. Listeners, it's a troll. It's a troll doll. It's a naked troll doll with blue hair. If you don't know what a troll doll is, Google it. They're hilarious.
Yes, yeah. So the story goes in 1959, sculptor and artist Thomas Dam could not afford a Christmas gift for his daughter, so he carved the first one of these from wood from his imagination.
No way.
Yeah. So
That's
these
pretty
caught
cool.
on, and Dam's company, and this is not a joke, his company is called Damn Things, started to produce them in plastic and under the name Good Luck Troll or Gonk Troll if you're in the UK.
Okay. Gonk troll.
So these began to take off in the 1960s in Europe before heading to the US, where they became a huge fad from the years 1963 to 1965.
Mm-hmm.
So this history gets way more complicated. We're not going to dive into it. There's a lot behind the history of this, including rights transfers, ownership of the IP. Like, it gets weird.
Okay.
But this eventually leads us to the troll doll we know today, which had a resurgence in the early 90s when we were kids.
Mm-hmm.
And is now
I remember.
having another moment in the sun because of the 2016 hit Trolls by DreamWorks Animation.
Oh, I forgot that was a thing.
Yeah, so this stars Anna Kendrick and JT, so no wonder it popped off.
Okay.
There are 3 of these movies now. We're not going to touch on any of them. The third one is just hitting theaters at the time of recording this.
Gotcha.
So these dolls themselves appear in a number of pop culture places aside from the DreamWorks animation series, including Robot Chicken, Simpsons, Toy Story, King of the Hill, and many, many more. And there is even a museum to them in North Jutland in, I believe it's Norway. It's in one of those countries. I can't remember exactly where Thomas Dam is from, but I think
Encounter this. Constantly guilty of confusing the Scandinavian nations.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I should have written it down, but I did not. Okay.
We'll live.
So next on the list is another sculptor and artist called Thomas Dambo. So this gentleman started in 2014, started building giant wooden trolls and hiding them around the world. Like this one, for example.
Whoa.
So to date, he's hid them in over 30 countries, 3 in Australia, China, Korea, Belgium, the US, with 99 of them in total.
Whoa. There's 99 of them?
99 so far.
So far.
And 10 of which were created during the COVID-19 pandemic and are discoverable only via GPS, like a treasure hunt that includes clues. And awesome. I believe that treasure hunt starts in Copenhagen.
I just want to know how one gets the money to pull this off. That's the thing that I never understand. It's like,
you can see like
build
like
trolls,
he just does it with a chainsaw. There are plenty of pictures of him building them.
Yeah.
Like he just uses fallen wood and puts them together with a very small structure. This fisherman rope doubles as a rope swing, and you can see plenty of people swinging on it. This one's my favorite.
Cool.
This one being a close second.
Ooh,
this is really an old man troll literally pulling a tugboat across the outback of Australia. Like, that's really neat.
So cool. Yeah, wild. What a crazy idea. That's super fun.
Yeah. So we'll have a link to that website where you can start the troll hunt in the show notes, because I think that's so cool. That's such an interesting idea. And there's a bunch of communities all over the world dedicated to finding all 99 of them. And I believe Dambo himself has said that he's going to stop at 100.
Okay. He's
Okay.
probably sick of it by now.
Well, maybe. Also, 100 feels like a lot. These are not small.
That's a lot.
Like,
yeah.
There's There's one that's just riding a Volkswagen Beetle, which is crazy. Like, this one's pulling an actual full size boat. Like that's not
crazy.
Not a scale model.
For
replica.
scale,
These things are massive. Yeah,
really cool.
And there is another like troll hunt in the Scandinavian nations. They were kind of used as like a secret marker that I don't get into here. It gets a little political in a way that I wasn't comfortable enough researching for this. We're trying to keep this fun and light.
Yeah.
So you can find episodes about that via 99% Invisible, and I believe This Is Love also covered it on those shows, and I'll try and link to those episodes below.
Cool.
But we're just going to keep it light. And by keep it light, I mean angry, because we are immediately going to jump into this troll. This troll is representative.
The cave troll.
Good friend. Yeah, J.R.R. Tolkien. This is a cave troll.
Yeah.
These were created by Melkor in the First Age, which eventually joined the forces of Sauron, and who warped cave trolls specifically into a race called Ulag Hai, which are like smarter trolls, but as far as I can tell, never appeared on screen. There are also 3 hill trolls that appear in The Hobbit, Tom, Bert, and Bill. And this in particular, like you said, is one of the cave trolls encountered in Moria.
Yeah, you can really only see them on screen in the Peter Jackson films, the original trilogy, the one in the Lines of Moria, and then you see some like kind of manually laboring for like the gates to oh my god, Sauron's lands. I can't think of it right now. You gotta take the ring to Mordor, thank you. It's like I was Isengard in my head, and I know it's not Isengard. I was like, just couldn't get past it.
Yeah, Isengard is Sauron.
Saruman.
Saruman. God damn it, Tolkien.
Let's move on before James breaks something.
Well, we're not moving on any better. We're moving on to this troll, which is also not my favorite. This is a mountain troll, aka troll in the bathroom, that appeared during the Philosopher's Stone. This one, I believe, just appeared, but there was also at one point brought to the school by Professor Quirrell, who could control trolls.
Oh yeah, Quirrell, yeah. I don't remember it really. I feel like that troll is actually like the half brother of Hagrid, and they don't really explain that. Doesn't make a lot of sense. So yeah, I don't remember much about it, to be honest.
Yeah, this is just to appease the fans. Sure. I didn't care about Harry Potter then, and I certainly don't care about it now.
That's it. You just come bring up Harry Potter and be like, "This is for you fans. I hate it."
Yeah, I mean, I used to say I think J.K. Rowling can do better, because she has done some adult stuff that is, actually written well, unlike the Harry Potter books. You cannot convince me that these are quality, well-written books. But on top of that, she herself is a hateful internet troll.
That she is. Sadly,
which we're also not going to touch on because I am trying to keep this light. But if you want to see how bad things are, you can look as recently as last week when she denounced trans gender people as people of that gender. I believe the direct quote was, "Trans women are not women." So go look into that on your own time. So we're just going to jump past that into this troll. This is
there's always a comic book.
Servald. Yeah. So this is Marvel's Comics' troll. This name has been held by several different characters. We're going to focus on this one very briefly. She is the daughter of an Asgardian and a male Mogzi troll, and appears a member of the Thunderbolts in Thunderbolts 145, which we will also have linked in the description below. Okay. Or not in the description, in our reading notes. Okay. Thunderbolts themselves are a great run, and this is a fun character. They're not my favorite, but I really like their fuzzy little costume and the little it reminds me of this Halloween costume my grandma made with a giant stuffed turtle head.
Okay. I mean, so wait, sorry. This is this character is the daughter of an Asgardian and a troll.
Yeah.
but she's not. She doesn't really look like a troll. She's just wearing something that looks like a troll.
Yep.
Interesting. Strange. Weird.
Yeah,
books.
there is a whole race of trolls that appear in, I think they're Thor comics, but I just have no interest and no patience for it.
Fair enough.
Some of the like 80s, 90s written Thor books are, in my opinion, some of the worst that Marvel's ever produced.
Oh yeah.
So I can't get on board for a lot of that stuff.
You can't read them all.
No, I can't, and I have no intention to. But like, there's history there that just, whatever. Let's move on to a worse version. This is also Troll. This is by Image Comics. So this is Bartholomew J. Troll, created by Rob Liefeld. And as I'm sure you can imagine, and we touched on in episode 1, this is very, very heavily influenced by Wolverine.
Influence seems like a generous word.
Yeah, influence is a very generous word. There's a really interesting
AKA
history
ripped
behind,
off.
Yeah. So there's a in the mid 90s. There's a really interesting history between like Image and Valiant, and I don't think Vertigo, but there was another one in there for sure, where a bunch of illustrators broke off from the big like Marvel and DC and formed their own publishing entities. Image was one of them, originally formed by McFarlane, who came from Spider-Man to eventually create Spawn. And the concept was that they wanted to own their creations, because if you work for Marvel and you create a superhero, Marvel owns that hero. Right. And that was a real issue specifically for some of these artists. And you get guys like Liefeld, who was, I believe, quite famous for his run on, not Youngblood, though this is a Youngblood character. I can't think of it. Cable was the leader. It wasn't X-Force. It was X-Force. I believe Liefeld was famous for his run at X-Force and his hand, I think, in the creation of Deadpool. I'm prepared to be corrected on that, but Deadpool's first appearance is X-Force. No, New Mutants 95. Anyway. This character was actually just born a troll.
Okay. Just born a troll.
Yep. And it had a mystical
another troll?
book. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, it had a mystical book that the user could use to rewrite their own history.
Okay.
But he lost this book in a game of cards and then was frozen in ice for several hundred years after trying to get it back. It was then thawed out and worked for the U.S. government in World War I.
Okay.
And then in the early 1990s, eventually became a member of the team Youngblood, named after the leader of the team, Youngblood. There's a reason these comics aren't around anymore. They're not particularly good. Almost nothing that came out of Image or Valiant or the other one whose name keeps escaping me. None of them almost are particularly good.
It sounds like they went into a kindergarten class and just started asking the kids questions, and were like, and just took the ideas and just, doesn't have to be cohesive. Just put it together and slap it on a page. It's like all those imaginative things, but none of it fits. None of it makes sense together.
And this was around the time where we had kind of hit like Marvel was starting to go under, and there was so many new superheroes for DC and Marvel that it was kind of difficult to create something new and unique in a way that it's still to this day, as far as I'm concerned, very difficult to create something new and unique in the the cape and superhero genre. For sure. The market's been so saturated for like 100 years now that it's putting in a new character can be quite difficult. And to create a whole new comic book series based around these there was a lot of borrowing bits and pieces, and then you get borrowing like this, which is very, very finely walking the line between borrowing and plagiarism.
He's even just holding his fists the same way Wolverine would with the claws out. Like, it's so blatant. It's crazy.
That's why
I don't know much about. I do not know much about the comic book world at all. Though I did recently listen to an episode on Imaginary Worlds about Jack Kirby, and it was fascinating. And it does touch on all those like those issues about ownership and how artists were just as significant storytellers as the writers, and it's really, really, really fascinating. So highly recommend.
Yeah, Kirby was a hero among men. He deserves as much, if not more, praise than Stan the Man himself. But that's the same with all illustrators.
Yeah.
Kirby, Ditko also deserves so much more credit than he's ever given. Being the designer of Spider-Man, like Bill Finger kind of shit right there. But let's keep moving. That's enough from Troll from Image. You want to talk about Troll from Image? Head over to unchartednorth.com/discord and at me there. I'll talk about comics all day.
We don't have a comics category in the Discord server yet, I don't think, but we probably maybe should one day. I'll mute it
when we get there. All right. Next up is we don't have an image from this, but it's a short story called Troll Bridge by Terry Pratchett. It is from 1991 and appeared in a collection of stories called After the King: Stories in Honor of J.R.R. Tolkien.
Okay.
So this is also set in Discworld, like most of Terry Pratchett's work. And this takes place directly after The Light Fantastic, which is the second book in the Discworld series, and stars Cohen the Barbarian. And there is a short film available on YouTube that was produced. And that will also be linked. It's really solid. It's really, really quite impressive.
Cool.
So we'll have that linked in the reading list as well. And I got the order of these wrong. So next we are going to jump to this guy.
Ooh.
So this is the Fremont Troll. This is a public sculpture in the Fremont neighborhood of Seattle, Washington.
Cool.
This is at the corner of North 36th Street and Troll Avenue under the north end of the George Washington Memorial Bridge, a.k.a. the Aurora Bridge. Don't know, don't care. And it is holding in its hand a real-life Volkswagen Beetle, because apparently that's a theme between trolls.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Wow, that's impressive. That's really cool.
Yeah, so it's 5.5 meters tall, or 18 feet, and weighs about 5.9 kilos, or 13,000 pounds. And it was sculpted by a quartet of Steve Badanes, Will Martin, Donna Walter, and Ross Whitehead. And if you Google it, you can actually see quite a bit of footage of it being built. So this was constructed as in response to hostile architecture. There was an encampment of
protesters.
No, I can't remember a current politically correct term, but like an encampment of the unhoused under this bridge.
Sure.
And what Seattle wanted to do was put in a bunch of hostile architecture to prevent them from camping down there. So hostile architecture is specifically architecture that's specifically designed to prevent people from using something in a way other than it was intended. So if you ever sit down on a public bench with like seat rails in it, like in the middle of it, so that you can't lay down, that's an example of hostile architecture that is specifically designed so that the unhoused population can't sleep there. You'll sometimes see curbs with or like half height walls on the outside of buildings with spiked rails on them. That's
it's like people
skateboarders away.
People had the idea of like, oh, well, we put these up here so that the pigeons won't roost and shit everywhere. Oh, let's do that for people too. And you're like, that's messed up. So
that is that's what hostile architecture was. So that was originally what was proposed to go under the Fremont Bridge.
Gotcha.
These four artists, I believe they were with the Seattle one of their universities or art schools at the time, came to the city and was like, let's, instead of just making this ugly and terrible, let's make it beautiful and terrible. So it's still an example of hostile architecture because it's designed to keep the unhoused population away. Which sucks. That's not an okay solution to this problem, just so we're all clear on that. but it is actual art, which is if you're going to do hostile architecture, which you shouldn't. We do not condone hostile architecture. It is not an okay solution to this problem. But if you're going to do it, this is probably the right way to do it.
Yeah, it's you have to meet something halfway if you don't have a choice. At least meet it.
Yeah. I mean, so there are plenty of images of this being built and scaffolded, and you can see the framework in relation to a human being. A human goes up to about the first knuckle on one of this guy's hands, just because it is
wild,
quite large. 5.5 meters is not small. But yeah,
super
really
cool.
really interesting sculpture, and still viewable today if you're ever in the Seattle area. Very difficult to find pictures of this without tourists climbing all over it. So
yeah, I bet. Yeah,
it's easily accessible.
I bet.
Yeah. All right. Up next is this. It wouldn't be a pop culture section if I didn't touch on a bad movie. So
yeah.
That being said, I don't actually know that this movie's bad. I'm prepared to be corrected. Connor, I'm looking at you. I expect you to slide into my DMs about this later.
Chime in.
So, this is a dark fantasy comedy by John Carl Buechler. I think that's how it's pronounced. Who is known for his work on The Reanimator 1985, which is a fantastic movie, and Ghoulies, also from 1985, also a fantastic movie. So, who knows? It is starring Noah Hathaway, who is a character called Atreyu in The Neverending Story. I'm told that means something to people.
It does. Yeah. Yep.
Shelley Hack, who played Tiffany Wells in Charlie's Angels, which means something to me. And former Republican Congressman Sonny Bono. Also probably more famous for his duet with Cher.
Sonny and
Sonny
Cher,
and Cher.
So funny.
Yeah. Is what it is, right?
Sonny Bono is one of the strangest pop culture icons in the world.
Yeah.
It's so weird.
Yeah, I went down my own little Sonny Bono rabbit hole here.
I mean, no offense, but like
had.
an extremely average looking man with an okay voice was married and a part of a duo to one of the biggest, most beautiful pop singing legends of all time. And then when they divorced and he quit singing, he became a Republican congressman. And you look at a picture of him in like a suit and tie, you're like, that works.
Yeah,
it's just the strangest thing.
Yeah, his Republican Congress photo looks like an accountant got stung by a bunch of bees. Like you look like you belong in Congress.
Oh man.
There are obviously numerous other pop culture examples. There are a bunch of bands called the Trolls from 2001 to 2004. There was one fronted by Iggy Pop. Great. Recommend you look them up.
Cool.
85 to 92, there was a Swedish pop band called Trolls. And in 1992, there was a Norwegian black metal band called Trolls that I actually can't find whether or not they're still playing. But since I can't find it, I'm assuming they're not, because I quite like Norwegian black metal.
Yeah.
So I really wanted to check these guys out. This is from kind of the same time that, I'm being very generous listeners, but this is from kind of the same time that like Opeth started out, and I'm a really big fan of them.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they're also a playable race in World of Warcraft, and they appeared in Hellboy 2: The Golden Army. They actually go to the troll market in Hellboy 2.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that. Cool.
And last but not least is not pop culture, but something that I just thought was fucking awesome, and it is this.
I don't like snow, James. You know this.
Yeah. So this is the Troll Research Station. This was opened in 1990 as a seasonal research base in Ulessun, Antarctica.
Nailed
Good
it. Enough. Don't even try. Don't try again.
Don't play too.
I think it's Utilsessen. That's what I'm going with.
Yep, that's the one. That's what I said.
Okay. That's what I heard.
And then in 2005, they opened a troll airfield to service the research station, and then this became a full year-round operational facility.
Okay.
Mainly the airfield does services from Cape Town and then little hops to other research stations.
So to be clear, it is not a research station for researching trolls. It is just called Troll, and it is a research station.
Yeah, so this specifically measures aerosols, organic and inorganic pollution, ozone depletion, and UV radiation.
Which a lot of people don't realize is actually the cause of Jotun troll farts. So it's
fluorocarbons.
It is a proper troll research station at the end of the day.
It is Norway's only all-year research base in Antarctica, which sounds like a big deal until you realize that countries like Japan have two. South Korea has two. And it houses 66 people in the winter and 70 in the summer. And it is operated by the Norwegian Polar Institute. So this is where that's located.
Ooh, that's
it's like right on the edge of the Antarctic. Like it's crazy.
Damn, I'd be scared to go to a place like that. It would just I couldn't do it.
Every time I see this image, I think this is where that John Carpenter Thing movie was filmed.
That was actually my first thought. Was I don't think I've ever seen the thing the full way through, but I still thought that. I was like, it looks like
just like this. Yeah, it's really, really crazy.
That's amazing.
But obviously that wasn't a troll, so I couldn't include it. But maybe in our next dog suite. And that kills my pop culture. But we have we have a caller coming in, and apparently I'm being told that Freeman has.
Hi, yes, my name's Freeman. I'm a long-time listener, first-time caller. I have a couple of things.
This might be a first ever.
It certainly is. Because you had created a separate list of notes for your stuff, and I plugged it into what I was preparing, and then I noticed you hadn't mentioned something that I knew of, and it just so happens to be another film called Troll Hunter from 2010. I haven't really put any notes here for it, but I watched it once, and I remember enjoying it quite a bit and having an appreciation for it. But it's basically a fake documentary kind of thing, and not a mockumentary. It's not a comedy film, but it basically surrounds these. It's like these university students in Norway, I believe, that decide to go on a hunt for who they think is a poacher. And spoilers, whoever wants to film, but I think you should watch it anyway. The poacher is actually a terribly paid government employee who keeps the local trolls in check. He basically just drives like an old van, and he barely makes any money, and he's like just this old kind of scruffy dude, and he has to keep the local trolls in check so that people don't know that they're there. And it's kind of cleverly done. It uses some CGI and stuff, and it's actually got some really funny things that they talk about, like trolls, that when they come across trolls that are just like big statues in the field, they're like, oh yeah, when the sun hits them, it reacts to the calcium in their blood or something like that, and that's what turns them stone. So they take this like a little bit of, like, they don't go too hard into it, but like a bit of a scientific approach to it. And I thought it was kind of a fun film, and it was a bit of an indie hit, I think, or like a little cult following to it at the time. There was only one particular thing that I didn't enjoy about it, and because they really went hard on all of the stereotypes that they could, I think, traditionally. But one of them was, they were like, at one point, it's all shaky camera footage, they're in a cave, and they're like, okay, you just gotta stay quiet. They won't be able to hear you or see you in the dark. And you can see them like floating in the background. Everybody's like, the only thing is they can smell Christian blood. But everyone in the camera crew is presumed to not be a Christian. But one of them reveals, I'm actually a Christian. I was just lying to you. And then the trolls all turn. And you're like, that's not really how that works. Like, I can't believe I'm picking this apart for like a fake troll documentary. But like, it's like you did all this like try to go sciencey stuff, and then they can smell Christian blood. It was like, oh, you lost me there. But everything else was
pretty classic bit of lore, though.
Yeah, I know, it is so classic. But it was still fun overall. And there's a really funny scene where he's actually got to there's a troll that lives under a bridge that is sick, and he's got to he's got to actually like give it some medicine, and he pulls out this massive metal syringe and he dresses up in like a big like house-made metal armor suit and goes in to try. It's really funny. So it's got some comedy built in for sure. Anyway, highly recommend. I think it's been a long time.
Is the audio in Norwegian? Is it have English subtitles?
I think it's Norwegian with English subtitles. Yeah, it's definitely a Norwegian film. Yeah. But I do have another reference here. Actually, I did think of something earlier. I'll just quickly touch on. But when it comes to the troll dolls, I don't know if you remember the Drew Carey show much, but the character Mimi Bobek by Kathy Kinney, who's just this outrageous character that's like kind of the nemesis of Drew Carey, and just wears like bright color clothes and crazy makeup all the time. And she's obsessed with her troll dolls, and they're always all across her desk. And she's like stands out like a sore thumb in this really like crazy dramatic way. And that was like a very indicative thing in 90s, the resurgence in the 90s culture of the troll dolls. It was big in the Drew Carey show.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Which that show went for like 11 seasons. So
yeah, I remember enjoying that show when it was on, but I cannot imagine revisiting it. There's
literally everyone in it is funny except for Drew Carey. Like everyone else is hilarious. Drew Carey is the worst part.
Right.
Sorry.
It's Ryan Stiles and Diedrich Bader.
Right? Ryan Stiles, Diedrich Bader, Craig Ferguson, Kathy Kinney's amazing. Like it's a star-studded cast. Yeah. Anyway, I have one more reference, and this actually comes from a friend of the show, Gabe, from Interparty Conflict. He was telling me about there's a 1989 video game called Curse of the Azure Bonds. It was an old D&D game for Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, I believe.
Oh yeah,
yeah. It was the second of 4 in a series of these Forgotten Realms like games. I think it was DOS based, and it was published and released and developed by Strategic Games. And it was the first time Gabe had ever encountered a troll in his whole life of a nerd. And he said, you come into this place where there's a sewer, you come across a room with green chunks of humanoid flesh, and it asks you what to do. And your options are inspect the chunks of flesh, burn the chunks of flesh, or continue on your way. If you do anything but burn them, they regenerate into a troll and start an encounter. So that was the first time Gabe ever learned how to deal with a troll post-mortem, as it were.
That's really neat.
Yeah. So Curse of the Azure Bonds.
I believe these are like the proto EverQuest games. Like this is kind of where EverQuest came from. These text-based adventure games.
Right.
Like this is old school.
Yeah. And I don't really have any tremendous details, but I know that Gabe has talked quite a bit about wanting to run a recreation of Curse of the Azure Bonds as a tabletop role-playing game, which would be really pretty cool. So maybe one day we'll get some more information on that and see if we can redirect people if it ever becomes a thing.
Yeah, and we'll make sure we link Gabe in the show notes as well, because
for sure, top-notch guy.
They're doing great things over there.
Yeah.
And you listeners may recognize Gabe from Sleepaway. I don't remember what we titled it on our network.
Camp Charon, yeah.
Camp Charon and the TMNT and Other Strangeness.
LMNOPs, yeah.
LMNOPs, yeah.
Yeah, a couple bonus episodes we've thrown out there. Super fun. Gabe is an absolute riot to play with. We hope to do more with him soon.
Yeah.
He was also in episode 100 for ET.
Oh, that's right.
Remember?
Yeah.
He's the one who did the rant on the Tarrasque.
Right. Yeah.
That's great.
So hopefully you all know him by now.
Yeah. That's it. That's all. Are you ready for mechanics?
I think so.
Have we used the splash screen yet? I think this is the first one.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm rubbing off on you.
Well, I mean, so we don't. We're only technically doing Pathfinder lore, and that's it. Like, I guess pop culture lore could count as.
We don't have a pop culture splash screen just for your episodes.
No.
That's fine. I think people understand our format by now.
Yeah, format is whatever the fuck happens.
Whatever corner Freeman takes us around. Okay, so let's talk about the Tombstone Troll. I love that you were kind of intrigued by this creature. It is a low level. We're talking about level 1 here. Small creature.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's just a small guy. Is uncommon. 13 AC, 25 HP, does not have a recall knowledge option. Still just unspecified, specified lore. It has a burrow of 5, so kind of thinking its way around, but it's not fast. And it can speak Jotun, has dark vision, little bonus to athletics, a little bonus to stealth, all kind of reflecting its nature. Got a little bit of strength, a little bit of dex, no intelligence, bad charisma. Fortitude is a 6, reflex is a 9, will is a 5. They have weakness to fire and positive, so 5 of each. Fire 5 and positive 5. Positive now also being renamed to vitality in the remaster. And they have immunities to negative, again being renamed to void. They have regeneration 5, deactivated by acid, fire, or the positive / vitality.
Oh,
so they nice. have the traditional stuff, a little extra weakness on top of that. They come in at you with a Jaws attack, +9 to hit, 1d8 plus, 1d6 plus 3 piercing. Claws with a +9, 1d4 plus 3. Agile, of course. They do have rend, so it can be dangerous. It's level 1 rend. It's like, not going to see that very often, I don't think.
No.
They get interesting with these next 2 things. They have something called Death Feast. The requirements of this is the last action was a Jaws strike that damaged a living creature or a corpse. And you spend 1 action to swallow a chunk of the flesh from the target and convert it into void energy. And then that deals 1d6 bleed, and its jaws and claws deal 1 additional void damage for 1 minute, or until they use their grave breath ability, whichever comes first. So now they're getting extra damage in all their attacks, which I think may or may not include the rend, because it basically rend replicates a particular attack that you just used, and you're taking bleed damage. That can be kind of dangerous at level 1. Yeah, that's kind of a little bit beefy in a way. But it does have, kind of wants to expend this energy a bit if it can. And that's through the Grave Breath, which is a 2-action ability. Troll needs to be bloated with void energy from the Death Feast. It's a 15-foot cone of putrid gas that shoots out of its mouth. It's a DC 14 basic fortitude save, 2d6 void damage. On a failure, the target is sickened. Sickened 1, and the can't be used again until Death Feast has been used again. So pretty straightforward, very simple to use, I think, this creature. But looks like it packs a bit of a stacking punch in a way.
Yeah. I mean, it actually is kind of encouraging you not to use rend.
In a way, yeah, kind of.
I think you're gonna want to Jaws and then Death Feast. And then, I don't know, whatever, maybe claws, but your next attack, you're going to want to use that Grave Breath pretty much right away if everybody's positioned appropriately. 2d6 is way higher than what you'll get out of the claws with a rend.
Yeah, the only way you're not using rend is if what you just Jawsed and Death Feasted and then maybe clawed again. If everything is not set up in a 15-foot cone for you, you can't seem to move, and you only have the same target, you're probably rending that next round. But pretty much under only those circumstances.
Even if you've only got 1 target, 2d6 void is plus the 1d6 for the jaws. So you're looking at 3d6, 4d6. Yeah. Like I don't know. I mean, the rend is free, I guess, but
sort of, yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if there's a value in that mechanically. Interesting.
I mean, it's certainly a holdover just from being a troll, It's
right.
It's there, and it definitely could have a function in the right circumstances, I think. But generally speaking, I think you're right. It's not likely to be a priority. Also, don't power play your characters at level 1 too much, GMs. Don't get too nitty gritty here. It's already a little bit dangerous. Don't find the perfect time to Death Feast, Grave Breath, rend everybody into oblivion. Play these things like scared, stupid creatures that they are. They do have reactive strike, by the way, which makes them even more dangerous. So
they have reactive strike. Oh my god.
Yes. Yeah. So there's that too.
Okay.
Remember, they are cowards, and they are only attacking out of desperation, which means they will still probably retreat. They might be hungry, but that doesn't mean they're going to make a final stand here.
Right, but okay. So hear me out.
Mm-hmm.
First action, claw rend.
Assuming you're in melee range already, yes.
Yeah. Reactive strike, jaw attack. Death Feast, Grave Breath. That's a dangerous fucking turn.
Okay.
Because as long as your last attack was jaw strike, you can Death Feast, and a reactive strike counts as an attack. So
yeah, let me just double check. Because sometimes they specify. Okay, no, reactive strike doesn't specify what it can attack with, so it could be a jaws attack. And Ren does have to be the claw. So I mean, yeah, I think the rules is written. You're onto something there. Those bad news bears.
That is danger zone for first level party.
Claw rend, scares the shit out of the PC. PC runs, reactive strike. Well, yeah, reactive strike, move up, Death Feast. Oh, wait, no, I think you... hold on. There might be a little hole in there because the last action was a jaw strike as the requirements for the Death Feast. So your attack of opportunity or your reactive strike would have had to stop your target from leaving your range. Because if you do a move action between, you can't get the Death Feast in.
Right. No, your last attack was a jaw strike. You can do a move action between. You just don't want to.
No. The trolls. What I'm looking at, Archives here. It specifically says the troll's last action was a jaws strike that damaged a living creature.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Got it.
Yeah. Not its most recent attack.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's fair.
Mm-hmm.
What if it was a different target though? Like if you're being flanked.
Well, I think the whole point of Death Feast is that you've jawsed and you're pulling the flesh off, so you can't just switch targets and randomly pull flesh out of something you haven't bitten. So I don't think it would work. I think you'd be mostly looking at if you were in front of a caster, the caster decided to cast in front of you, and that was what triggered your reactive strike. And I think some people would even be nitpicky about whether or not a reaction counts as an action in this particular wording. I think I'm not saying I know what it is for written versus intended, but some people I think would argue that. Again, don't min-max this creature. It's looking scary now if you really try.
Yeah, I mean, it should look scary. It's a fucking troll.
Yeah. It's very small.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I mean, its AC is still 13 and its HP, like, you could still one-shot this at first level with a crit. Like,
yeah.
Like, if this gets a turn in combat, I think it probably deserves to have the biggest turn possible, because there's a real possibility with a 7 perception that you're not going to have the initiative, and then with an AC of 13, an HP of 25, one rage and axe strike later, your troll could be gone.
Yeah, and I don't know where and how they're positioned in the adventure path, but it's possible that you're fighting multiples of these at a lower level as well.
I'd be shocked if you weren't fighting 2 or 3 of these at level 2 or something like that. Yeah.
You're not fighting 1 or 2 of these at level 1, I don't think. But yeah, Tombstone Troll. Lots of hot debate. Let's talk about the Troll Hound.
All right.
Level 3 creature this time around. AC 17, HP is 65. It's medium, as you might expect. It does have the Beast trait along with the Troll trait. No Giant trait, which means we do get to use Arcana or Nature to identify it.
That's great. Finally.
Yep. Finally. 35 speed, so it's quick for a chunky boy, and does have dark vision and has all-round vision. That might not be right. My notes might be wrong there.
Okay. I'm on it.
Yeah. Scent of 30 feet, which is imprecise. Does have a nice big strength on it, big con on it. Everything else is pretty low. Good at acrobatics, athletics, stealth, and survival, all fitting the role of an aggressive, bulky tracker animal.
Yep.
Big old fortitude.
It does not have
14.
all-round vision.
No, okay.
I don't know if that's the thing that exists.
I'm just gonna remove that real quick. It can see through the blisters on its skin. So yeah, big fortitude on it. Reasonable reflex at 8. Will save is 6. Does have fire 10 weakness. Regeneration 15 for a level 3 creature. It's pretty reasonable. HP is at 65, and it's deactivated by the classic acid and fire. As you can imagine, this creature
pretty
has
hardcore level 3 creature.
Yeah. Jaws attack 1d12 plus 4 piercing plus knockdown and blood fire fever. So you don't want to be bitten by this thing. Now, knockdown is grab when it's added to one of these abilities. It takes another action to activate it. So Jaws, if you successfully hit, you can spend another action to automatically knock down. I believe they have changed the rule on this. You don't just get a free knockdown anymore, and some people are not happy with this because it actually affects PCs as well in certain ways. You still have to spend the action, but now you actually do have to roll for it. But maybe you get a bonus or something like that. But I know it's an odd thing. It's not a trip is the thing. It's different from a trip because this thing probably couldn't necessarily trip properly. I'm not really sure how it works.
Right.
Do not quote me on this potential change. But I've heard
it's not listed on Nethys yet, and the difference between a trip and a knockdown is important because knockdown you just do it. You just knock somebody down.
Yeah. The wording here is specific because knockdown is effectively a word that you would only see on bind attached to a creature or a creature ability.
Yeah,
same as grab. Yeah. Because you don't grab as a PC, you grapple. And then they get into the grabbed condition.
But it is important as a creature ability because larger wild shapes have it. Like some dogs have it. I believe some of the larger cats have it. So knockdown is important for PCs as well as
very much.
I believe some animal companions and stuff have it. This is
for sure.
This
wolves.
Isn't
Wolves are famous for it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So interesting that they would change that. I don't think they're going to change it. I don't see why they would.
Yeah.
Spending an action is enough.
Yeah. I think the big complaint was that people were saying, well, that only means that the improved version is good because it's a free action economy. So but then you're still having to roll for it. Yeah. So I don't remember. Keep eyes peeled for that. Yeah. As of this recording, by the time this comes out, the remaster will have been out, but you and I might not still have even had time to find this information. Right. But we're not far away as of this recording for that release either. But yeah, definitely something to look out for. But in the meantime, you are safe. Again, remaster means all legacy rules still apply if you want. So in this case, it is one extra action. It is an effective automatic knockdown. And then you have to worry about blood, fire, fever. Let's talk about that, shall we? Little disease action. Oh, yeah. DC 18 fortitude save. Stage 1, no ill effect for 1 day. I can't tell you how much a calendar and foundry has helped me with these things because I am not good at tracking time. 1 day, stage 1, pain in the ass. And then if you get to stage 2, if you fail after that, you are enfeebled 1 for 1 day. So you're stuck enfeebled 1 full day. If you fail again, you are enfeebled 1, clumsy 1 for 1 day, stage 3. If you fail that, stage 4, enfeebled 2, clumsy 2. And then it goes to stage 5, where you become enfeebled 2, clumsy 2, and fatigued. All of them in increments of 1 day. If you manage to fail those back to back, by the time you get to stage 5, this will not kill you. It does not do damage to you, but it will hamper you brutally. Really brutally.
Yeah.
If it keeps going.
Either class type will be hampered by this. You do not want to be a clumsy caster, and you do not want to be an enfeebled fighter.
No, you really don't. And nobody wants to be fatigued.
No.
So the only thing to add to this little stat block here, it's very simple, is the pack attack, dealing 1d6 additional damage to targets within reach of at least 2 of the Trollhound's allies. Which could just be another Trollhound and a troll. That's an encounter right there on its own. That could be very, very
right. I like that it's with the trolls too, like the Trollhound allies, as opposed to just more trolls. I actually
it could even be non-trolls. They just have to be allies.
Creatures. Yeah.
Oh. It is worth mentioning that there is an item in the game, level 6 item called the Trollhound Vest. It is a +1 hide armor that is sickly green and covered in thick warts and nodules. Ooh, I hate that word when it comes to skin things, nodules. It's fashioned from the hide of a trollhound, as you can imagine, and imbued with some of the beast's vitality. Crafting requirements mean you have to have hides of at least 2 trollhounds if you want to craft it. So you got to already kind of go up against these things. Wearing this armor, this is funny actually. This is really so specific and silly, but I love it. If you're wearing this, you get a -1 circumstance penalty to all checks using diplomacy if you're interacting with trolls. So if you're trying to diplomatically solve something with a troll, you're wearing this. They don't like it. Get the troll hide off. That's our dogs. However, you get a +1 circumstance bonus to diplomacy to make an impression if you're doing so wearing the armor in communities traditionally plagued by troll attacks. So people are like, yeah, you got a trophy vest on. You're our hero. So specific. And it's like just like, oh, here's a little side quest thing. I love it. But its actual function beyond that and being a +1 hide armor is there is a reaction interact where it's triggered if you take damage from a melee attack while you are half or fewer of your normal maximum HP. Your body knits itself back together, healing you for 3d8 HP. No cooldown.
Okay.
That's cool, if you ask me. Like, it's a level 6 item, but like if you're just at 50% or lower HP and you don't have anything better to spend a reaction on, you could just heal 3d8 that turn. Done. And if it puts you back over 50%, you can't do it again the next turn. But like you can just keep mending yourself that way. That's a pretty good little get out of jail free card almost, especially if you're playing a character that doesn't have a tremendous list of reactions to work with. That's solid. No cost, no cooldown.
Yeah, level 6 isn't terribly high either. Like it's available in most cities easily. So
yeah, and 3d8, like I feel like that can go a long way. It's not going to be massive in later levels, but like you're also going to replace that armor probably at some point, right? It's not going to last you forever, but that could be a lifesaver in definitely some certain situations.
Mid combat for sure. Yeah. Huh.
Speaking of what you might replace it with, let's talk about a level 15 item. Not really related to Trollhound, but it's not related to any of the other ones other than regular trolls either. So I thought I'd squeeze it in here. There's something just called Troll Hide. Now, both of these, I believe, have the alchemical. Actually, no, sorry. This one has the alchemical and healing traits. The previous one has magical and necromancy. So Troll Hide is just flat hide armor. And it's made with the tissue of a living troll that has been integrated into the armor. The armor has 2 organic receptacles, which is weird terminology for me, on its back. Yeah, that can each hold a single elixir of life. 1 elixir takes 3 interact actions to install. For the armor to function properly, each elixir must be at the same level. A loaded suit of troll hide can be activated, single action, causing regenerating tissue from the armor to fill your wounds. So once you activate it, at the start of each round, you regain HP equal to the level of the loaded elixirs. So it could be level 1 for 1 point, level 3 for 3 points, so on and so forth. Each time you regain at least 13 hit points from the armor, you regrow 1 damaged or ruined organ. During a round that you regain 9 or more hit points from the armor, you can reattach severed body parts by spending an interact action to hold the body part to the area that it was severed from. If you take acid or fire damage, the armor deactivates until the end of your next turn. In the event the armor itself takes damage, it restores its own HP before it resumes healing you. And the regeneration lasts for 8 rounds. Once activated, the armor cannot be deactivated. The armor uses up the elixirs of life during the duration, can't be activated again until 2 new ones are installed. Blah, 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 blah.
So it's all so very specific. Get these.
But just put it on your alchemist.
Yeah, I mean,
just conjuring up those elixirs of lives, just tossing them in. Like every combat you get regeneration. Like that's pretty solid. It's cool. I'm not sure how many examples you're going to find yourself, going up against something that's like intentionally damaging or ruining your organs or severing your limbs. However, I've also not played a whole lot at level 15, so maybe
you also don't need that high. Like you could just throw in 2 10th level elixirs, and just regain 10 HP at the start of your turn for no reason at all. Like that's for 8 awesome. Rounds. That's so many. That's so awesome. Many rounds.
It's so many rounds. Yeah. Anyway, little offshoot there. Still mechanical. Thought it was cool. Let's
I like those
talk about the one we're all wondering about. 2-headed troll. Level 8 for this guy. AC 24, 190 HP. Large again, of course. Giant and troll traits. So no recall knowledge proper. Languages, Jotun, dark vision, 30-foot speed, big strength, big con, athletics, intimidation, all the things you expect. weakness of fire 10, which is not super high, but it's only level 8. Big old fortitude, reasonable reflex and will. So fortitude 20, reflex and will at 15 and 14. So they're pretty close to each other.
That's it is not what I would call a low save.
Yeah, no.
8th level.
They carry a club usually just a single club. In fact, they have regeneration 25, and deactivated by acid and fire. You of course getting a jaw attack from these creatures.
That 25 is almost the biggest we've seen, isn't it? Wow.
No, we've seen I think it's 45 for the Misbegotten Troll, which was like a level 18 creature.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But 25 is big, especially level 8. You might want to double check that just in case. I've already made a mistake. So Jaws attack, 2d12 plus 8 piercing, reach of 10 feet, claws, 2d8 plus 8, reach, agile, club, 2d6 plus 8 bludgeoning, reach of 10. Club can be thrown. Same deal as we've covered before, thrown 10 feet, reach of 10 feet. Can throw outside the increment for a -2 if you like, so on and so on. Reactive strike, reactive chomp. Got an extra reaction here. And actually, I'm going to come back to it because we have to talk about this passive first called Independent Brains.
Okay.
This is the key feature, and this is where the Etten comes in. Each head rolls its own initiative. Neither head can delay. Each head gets 2 actions and 1 reaction. Each controls 1 arm, but both control the legs. Severing a single head, such as from a vorpal weapon, does not cause the troll to immediately die so long as the other head is still alive, but the reactions of that head are lost. Mental effects that affect a single creature only affect 1 head at a time. These are all things I feel like we definitely covered in Etten to whatever capacity. I can't remember how the initiative thing worked for that one, but I do love the idea of like they have their own initiative and they cut limited actions as a result.
We covered
reactive chomp
5e, so probably not anywhere near the same as this. This is like minion mechanics here,
right? And it's important for reactive chomp because the trigger is on the current head's turn. It hits the same target with 2 consecutive claw strikes in the same round, and the effect is you make a jaws attack with the other head. So it has to be the opposites. Yeah. I gotta make sure I'm reading that right. Make a jaw strike while the target is distracted by the relentless claws. Must be the head that is not currently taking a turn. Yeah. It's also important to note that this triggers off a claw strike, not a club strike. One of those hands is usually carrying a club. So they kind of set you up in a way to almost limit you to only every other turn between this creature that becomes a little bit more available. But I mean, but you can drop that easily, and they do have their own reactions, remember, too. So you can drop the club and really like lay it on thick with this interaction. The other passive, though, is the head regrowth. After regaining HP from regeneration, you do a DC 10 flat check, and if you succeed, the missing head is restored in full. It doesn't seem to be anything that implies the troll that if both heads are lost, it immediately dies. I don't know where the regeneration effect kind of comes in with the lore for this creature, or if it's like mitigated from it being a hybrid or some such. It's not strictly clear on that, so you can kind of play with that, I think, if you want.
The last line of head regrowth is if a 2-headed troll loses their last remaining head, they die immediately.
No, for sure. I'm just wondering if there's anything about if the lore, not the mechanics so much as the lore that says any piece of a troll left over can regenerate into a troll. Is there an exception here at all? I'm wondering. I don't know. Yeah. It's just a kind of a passing thought.
Yeah, probably. I mean, I would say there's probably an exception here just because it's half et and half troll. I think maybe that ends there, but
yeah,
that's something for you to define at your own table.
For sure. Let's talk about the Jotun Troll. This one's fun. This one's pretty cool. Level 15. We're getting a big old beastie boy here. AC at 35.
God, so much higher than I thought it was going to be.
360 HP. Huge in size. Very, very big. It is a rare creature. It does have the giant and troll traits. It also has the mutant trait.
What's that all
which
about?
Doesn't say much, and I don't think there's many. It basically just says Let me just read it off Archives of Nethys here. It says, the monster has mutated or evolved, granting it unusual benefits, drawbacks, or both. There was nothing in the stat block that specifically indicates what this is applying to, but I think I know what it is. And I think it's its weakness. I think its weakness is tremendously reduced because it's a level 15 creature. We've seen the weakness and the regeneration grow in tandem in that sort of horizontal growth that we talk about. But they only have fire 10 weakness, which is very low for a regeneration of 40. And I think that's where the mutant trait is coming in. I think it's given them a boost in that regard. Why exactly a mutant? I'm not sure. I didn't really feel it was in the lore so much. And maybe I'm just like in my head a little bit too mutant X-Men, mutant Ninja Turtles, and maybe it's something less specific and grandiose as those, and more vague and like natural, like evolutionary in this case.
Yeah. So most mutants in the 2E, most, I can't give this a blanket statement, come from the mana wastes who have been manipulated by like the energy there. So that's where you get like the mutated Desert Drake and the Knoll Hulk. They all come from that particular area. I don't know if that's carried over to things like this. There are some other mutants under here. There's a Necro Hulk Smasher, which I'm pretty sure is copyright infringement.
There's the greater Barghest is in there, but apparently not the Barghest, so there must be a difference in lore there. There's one of the Serpent Folk is on the list as well.
Oh yeah, and there's
but apparently not all of them. So it's
I don't know. It looks like the ones
there
with
somewhere.
Mutant are from the mana wastes in the name, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know about the other ones. Those are,
Yeah. Anyway, I just think that's where we're seeing the reflection is in the weakness. That was my guess. Because at first I was like, that's it? 10? That's way too low. And actually, just before we were recording, I was reviewing and I went, oh, I think maybe that's it. So obviously we get big old beefy con and strength like usual. It's got actually really reasonable wisdom with a 6 attribute modifier. Athletics 29, intimidation 27. Like I said, regeneration 40, acid fire. Jaws attack. Jaws is a plus grab, 15-foot reach. So that'd be dangerous.
Nice.
And it's got a reason for that, I tell you. Claws, agile, 15-foot, big old damage. Rend, of course. Which, by the way, we don't have in the two-headed. There was no rend there.
Yeah, it can't rend.
Something
like it's not something capable of rending.
Yeah, something kind of lost probably in that hybrid kind of creation.
It's
of course,
the lost in the action economy, if I'm not mistaken, because one head only controls one side, and to rend you need to hit with both claws.
You have to have,
so you're not capable of hitting with both claws on one turn.
So I guess they kind of make up for it with the reactive Jaws attack, right? Because it's like 1/1, that's the 2 actions gone. The other one gets to get in, and it's like it's not a rend, but it is another attack, that you normally wouldn't get. So that's pretty neat, actually.
Yeah, and I mean, you only get 2 actions, so there's nowhere in the economy to rend, even if you did manage to use both heads at the same time. I don't know. It's weird.
Haste. If it ever came into play, haste.
Yeah,
maybe.
Yeah. I mean, if it ever came into play, fuck it, give the troll rend.
Do it. Kill those filthy PCs.
Fuck it. I mean, again, raw still isn't capable of rending, so it has to be both claws.
It's not in the stuff. But so Jotun Troll. Back to Jotun Troll. They have a rock attack. They can throw rocks real good. They're real good at throwing rocks. Plus 30 to hit with a rock. It's got the brutal trait, so it's actually adding its strength to the old attack roll, which I think we saw.
They're better at rock than they are at claws and jaws. That's
it's all pretty basic around there. I love that ranging command of 120 feet. Just tossing a rock that far is just crazy to me. Let's talk about Cacophonous Roar. Which is has the auditory, emotion, enchantment, incapacitation, mental, and primal traits.
Sorry, I'm having a hard time with this. They're huge.
They are huge.
Could you imagine being able to throw a rock and hit a mouse from 120 feet. What the hell?
Yes, there goes our verisimilitude. Right out the window.
I mean, just like that's really impressive, but I'm just trying to wrap my head around that. Okay, we can continue. I think I'm good.
Okay, all right. Cacophonous roar. It's got all these traits, including incapacitation. You unleash a cacophonous roar from all of the heads. Remember, there are 9 heads on this thing that distort the listener's mind. All non-trolls within 100 feet make a DC 34 will save. Cannot use again for 1d4 rounds. Critical success, unaffected. Temporarily immune for 24 hours. Success, stupefied 1. Failure, confused 1. Critical success or critical failure, confused 1d4 rounds.
I'm really glad my mic was off, because when you said success, stupefied 1, I made a noise that I've never made before in my life. That's insane.
Yeah. Really, really brutal. Massive range, very dangerous. 2 actions.
Wow.
And I love it because like
stupefied's one of those ones that falls off, right?
No, that's one of your long rest ones. That's the one that really messes up your caster. It is a will save. Your caster usually has the highest chance of succeeding, but it's bad if you don't. Ravenous Jaws. 2 actions. Make a jaw strike for every head available. Must all be different targets. Very classic approach to that. All affect map, but not until all the strikes are done. So march up into the middle of the party and hit them all once if you can. And swallow whole. Why not? 1 action. Swallow medium or small creature. If I recall correctly, you need to be grabbed. So it's a jaws, one action, grab, next action, swallow whole. That being said, I didn't notice before, but swallow whole, I can't remember if we ever brought this up, but it has the attack trait. So it does affect map, even though you're not rolling for it. So there's that.
Well, so does, so does the grab, but you're not rolling for that either.
I guess no, it doesn't. Grab doesn't in a creature stat block because it is not grapple. It's a different ability. It is not a PC one. It does not have the attack trait. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it's that's probably one of the big differences for knockdown and trip as well, right? Does not have the attack trait. So you're basically being swallowed. You're going to take 3d12 bludgeoning. It has a rupture of 36. We've covered this before. I always forget the details. I think I'm going to pass over it and just mention every time this comes up now. If you are reviewing swallow whole rules as a GM, look up the engulf rules as well. That is where you'll find the rules on rupture. They work together in tandem, but they are not in the same spot, and they're not even really nested to each other per se. Maybe that'll be fixed in the remaster or become a little more clear. But every time I've done this, I've had to go out of my way to find rupture's not its own section. It's under engulf. Engulf and swallow whole work very similar ways. Look them both up. Do your research every time. Even if you think you've got it, go double check, because it's a kind of a laundry list of confusion a little bit in there. And you just don't want to have someone die in the stomach of a massive creature because you missed one small thing. So look it up. Get in there. Remind yourselves.
Yeah, and I can confirm that they are not linked on Nethys. Engulf is nowhere on this page.
Every time I have to like Google rupture Pathfinder 2e, and then usually engulf shows up somewhere because it's found it in the search and the body of the article. And that's not a convenient way to have to go about it in this case, but it could be worse. But just do your homework. These things have reactive strike. As you can imagine.
Okay, no.
It's for every head, I'm pretty sure. I'll have to double check. We're going to get there in a sec. They have catch rock like before. They catch it. They can throw it. Fast swallow as a reaction. Okay, here, the Ocean card grabs a target with the jaws. They can reaction swallow instead of spending an action. So they can do it really quick. Head regrowth works same as the above, but it's all for 9 heads. It is DC 8 flashlight instead of 10 upon the regeneration. It is only 1 head at a time, though. You can't regenerate 2 or 3 at a time.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, and it's worth noting too. We've never covered Hydra, I think, but there is a difference in like multi-headed creatures sometimes. the stat blocks here do not give you particular ACs and hit point pools for each head like they do in the Hydra. So I know those are separate. The Hydra has its own kind of rules around how it regenerates its own heads and how to stop it. And it's very, there's a lot of analog and kind of similar parallels between these creatures, but they do have different functions. And so you kind of, if you're wondering how do I chop a head off without the vorpal weapon, when it comes to these creatures, can I just target the head alone? Maybe your GM will allow it, but it is not in the stat block. It is not rules as written as an option.
Right. Not homebrew time, but the easiest way to do that would be to take that 360 and just divide it by 9. And then every time you hit that threshold, the head goes.
Right. Yeah. And I'm pretty sure that's what Hydra does. Yeah. So it's kind of works out. Multiple opportunities. Every head has its own reaction for a jaw strike or a fast swallow. No more than one reaction can be used for the same trigger, which is always very important. This means a single move action cannot trigger more than one reaction, even if it runs through multiple threatened squares. Something that's very important to remember. Severed heads do not count toward reaction generation at the beginning of the next turn, which is like they just have to specify that. If you have 9 heads, you get 9 reactions restored. If you have 8, you only get 8 reactions restored.
Well, that's also very important because if you regenerate a head on your turn, it doesn't
reaction
get
is not there.
Back.
It's not there until the start of the next
turn.
So
that becomes very mechanically important because actions are doled out at the top of the round, not at the start of your turn.
Yeah. And by the way, I'm not sure how I screwed this up, but I'm just going to go back real quick. This is the creature that should have all around vision because 9 heads all around the body cannot be flanked. So that's important to note. But otherwise, that's it. That's the Jotun Troll. Actually reasonably simple in a way, but definitely dangerous and effective.
Yeah, I think mechanically these are pretty solid. There's not a whole much to go on for the Jotun. No. Don't get in close. Actually, just don't engage.
Yeah, just
run.
Just go. Just run the other way. It's not worth it. It's just not worth it.
Yeah, that fast swallow reaction is not ideal.
Yeah, very, very, very scary. Make sure you come ready for rupture weapons and opportunities from inside that belly and get yourself regurgitated as fast as possible.
Yeah,
that's what you want.
Every
party that's it.
Needs a Vorpal.
Yeah, and Vorpal's a hot topic right now too. There was a recent post on Reddit about someone asking. They just like, oh, I'm playing. I think it was Bloodlords. We just hit 18, and I got a Vorpal rune. Is it worth using over, say, a Greater Flame or something like that? And then some people started doing the math and were like, whoa, wait a second. It's a level 17 rune, but it only triggers on a natural 20, not just a critical success. It's going to be natural 20. It's a DC 37 Fortitude save, which is the baseline for like a level 16 wizard. But he got it at level 18, so it's like that's a rather low DC for what you're looking at. Plus the reaction to activate it, plus the reaction has the incapacitation trait, which means. And then someone else did the math. They're like, oh yeah, a level 17 creature with an average low Fortitude save is going to beat that 55% of the time. And that's like not even considering the incapacitation. I was like, that's, and everyone went, wow, the Vorpal rune sucks. It's like, damn, it's just like, holy shit. So I saw another post like today.
Homebrew, but Vorpal's a weird one.
Yeah. All right, Homebrew. Yeah. So I was quickly reading a new post, like I think today, on the said Vorpal thing. And so obviously this isn't really applicable to trolls so much, but it gets tangentially. And someone was just like, can we just find a quick way to homebrew this and make it like reasonable and something simple? We don't know if it's going to be touched in the remasters and look like it. And someone just said, you know what, just give it a baseline, a grants your up an additional 1d6 damage. That way you get something out of it every time you hit. And then from there, at least you get the possibility of and everyone's kind of like, you know what, that's a simple, effective way of doing it. Keep it kind of the same way it is. Maybe that's a good route to go. Check Reddit for a thread on that. I'm sure there'll be some cool ideas that roll through there. If I can find it, maybe we'll place it into the notes here. The other thing that someone else pointed out too, though, is like famously the Vorpal weapon is the antithesis or the sort of nemesis of the Jabberwock, famous from the nonsensical poem Jabberwocky. And the Jabberwock has a stat block which makes it afraid of vorpal weapons. But the irony of it is that the Jabberwock is apparently one level higher than the vorpal rune, which means it will always be in effect or is it the proper amount higher, always be in effect for the incapacitation trait, which means it has less reason to be afraid of it, which is kind of seems like a really big oversight. It's like, I know maybe you don't want the Jabberwock to always, be getting its head chopped off and instantly killed, but isn't that kind of the point of the pairing? It seems a bit odd and not well thought out, and apparently it's not much better in 1E. So
yeah, it's not. So I come from the world of 5e, as I'm sure all of our listeners know, and I have given like 8th or 9th level players vorpal weapons in 5e games because I have never thought they were as powerful as people think they are. Like even in 5e, you have to roll that natural 20 and you automatically cut off a creature's head. Okay, cool. Here's a weapon that when it goes off, it's going to make you feel like a hero, but how often is it going to go off? And in my games, it hasn't.
Yes. Yeah, because James gave us more weapons, and then he all gave us weighted dies for the natural 1.
Yeah. But I mean, like, I'm not saying be frugal with your magic weapons, because I am. Yeah. I'm very, very generous with my magic stuff because especially in 5e, it's a game where you're playing heroes. You're supposed to feel like heroes, so I want you to feel like heroes. And having a weapon that just cuts shit's head off in one swing, that's a great way to do that. Yeah,
it's really fun.
But I've never felt like it's as powerful as it's supposed to be. Never.
Mm-hmm. It reminds me of one of the official one shots that you didn't play. I mean, you never really wanted to because it's gunslinger focused, and it's basically a zombie gunslinger, Left 4 Dead kind of thing. And there is for that one shot, there is an alternate rule where if you roll a natural 20 against one of the sort of baseline undead roaming around, it's a headshot and an instant kill, which was just it just was fun. It allowed you to like go up against hordes in a way if you wanted to take that approach and have the chance of those instant kills and those fun little moments, right? But it was all baked into this one little contained thing. But yeah, same idea, right? It's like, I know if you're going to give me a verbal weapon, you're just going to throw a lot more smaller guys at me. And it's going to feel cool, but the encounter challenge hasn't changed. Not really.
Yeah. Well, I've always been a big proponent of the minion mechanic for that exact reason. Just roll the hit. If you hit, it's dead. And I love that.
Just grab your many kills.
Yeah. I think that's so cool. Yeah. And I think I've always thought that that's an underused mechanic.
Yeah.
Maybe not necessarily with like swarms and stuff like that, but like.
Sure. Yeah.
At level 10, throw 100 goblins at your players. And I mean 100.
Why not?
Like, have fun with it.
I have one final thing. As I don't really have any personal homebrews for these. I think they're just fun creatures. I think I'm happy with Trollvember. All in all, there's not much I'm stressed about here with these stat blocks. I have a really fun anecdote again from Gabe.
Okay.
If you'll allow me. Unless you have something you want to add in first.
I don't. I wish from some of the lore that we've gone over that trolls were a little more integral to the Galarian world.
Right.
So lore-wise, they seem to be simultaneously relatively rare and impressively common, at least in the version of Galarian folklore.
Yeah.
So I'd like to see them used a little bit more often. So like let's include like a Galarian nursery rhyme or something like that, like our Ring Around the Rosie.
Yeah.
That's the one about Chernobyl, right? Ring Around the Rosie, where all the kids die.
No, it's about the Black Plague.
Okay.
Yeah. Where all the kids die. You got one part of it right.
Let's see more of those involved in Galarian lore. Yeah. And I don't think 2 items is nearly enough for a creature that's so ubiquitous. It doesn't have a recall knowledge.
Yeah.
Like I don't see why we don't have like a troll femur club that just heals itself. Like that's nothing. That is just a
I'm with you on
reskin
that.
club that cannot be broken.
Yeah, we need more troll alchemical items. That's what we need, because there was so much implication of that being the case. And we just need more of those. Why not? Like, there's no reason to not have them. Like, homebrew some up if you need to, but like, just use the blood, use the skin, use the organs, use the different things. There were some cool ideas built in there that were unexpected, like a smoke bomb that made people enrage. You know, like, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Really cool.
Like, why isn't troll thigh part of a spell that, you know, like, what is Never Ending Feast? Is that a spell in 2e?
Rings a bell, yeah. But if there's like a spell that offers regeneration or something, like, you know, there offers was it fast healing? You know, you would think that would be part of it, yeah. That being said, they're getting rid of spell components in the remasters.
Yeah,
so,
I mean, as they should. Spell components are weird, and they've been trash since the 80s. But but you know, why isn't there a never-ending water skin that's just a troll stomach? Like, it just constantly regenerates that stomach acid.
That would be neat. Yeah.
Or like, why don't you have a steak that you like? It's never ending. It's just constantly consuming itself because you're just constantly eating this part of a troll thigh or something like that.
Or a body modification where you can have an alchemically treated troll liver inserted instead of yours, and then you can do substance stuff for longer and harder.
A part of flesh warping that gives you like poison immunity. Because
gives you bonuses against poisonous diseases and addictions. Like, why not? Yeah.
So I'd like to see more stuff like that. Yeah. But I mean, that's obviously not Paizo's current purview. They need to build the world before they start building it out. So
yeah. They've got other priorities. There's sadly hundreds of other creatures. Whatever.
That's where you come in, dear listeners. info@encounterthis.ca with your homebrew troll items.
Do it. Or as always, hit up the Discord. We love chatting on the Discord.
Discord's always a great place.
Yeah, I'm actually gonna read you Gabe's anecdote here, verbatim. He sent me 2 stories basically, and one was the Curse of the Azure Bonds I mentioned in the pop culture, and that being his first experience. So he went on to say this. I've already told you about my first experience with trolls, but the thing about first experiences is you only get one of them. After I had been playing D&D for about 5 years, which in retrospect feels like nothing, but at the time I felt like a seasoned veteran, I began to feel like everything in D&D was kind of old hat to me and my group. We'd all read the DMG, the Dungeon Master Guide. We'd all read the Monster Manual. We all knew what magic items and spells and mechanics we should expect at a given level. Not that the game couldn't be exciting when you knew what to expect, but the only way you'd encounter a troll and not immediately do something to stop the regeneration is if you were intentionally playing a character who didn't know, and you were willing to play suboptimally for roleplay purposes. Well, that, or the DM was using a half-black dragon war troll in order to create an encounter with a monster that simply couldn't be killed by damage. I've played in that encounter once or twice. It was around this time that I learned how powerful the art of reskinning could be and how it can be used to give the game its magic back. See, I knew that if I started an encounter in the sewers and I told the players, all right, 12-foot tall, green-skinned humanoid shows up, it attacks you twice and then rends your flesh. When you slash with a sword, the wounds seem to close up afterward. Then I knew all of the players would maybe not literally, but at least mentally, yawn, roll their eyes, and then start scanning their character sheets for sources of acid or fire damage. Nothing new, nothing exciting. So I ran an encounter in the sewers and used the stats for a troll. But instead of describing a troll, I described a 12-foot-long mutant alligator with 2 heads gnashing at anything in the considerable reach. When both heads bit down on a PC, they played tug of war and tore the target apart, dealing additional damage. The players attacked it with various weapons, and the moment it stopped moving, they continued on their way. But then, what's this? A few paces down the passage, the same 2-headed alligator burst into the sewage, attacking again. The party fought it for a second time, eventually taking it back down. And then they stuck around to observe it, which led to them realizing to easily recognize that it was regenerating. So they tried a few different damage types, eventually landing on, you guessed it, acid and fire. Once the encounter was over, all the players were commenting on how interesting of a creature that was, and that they were curious where I got the stat block or what or what templates I used. And just like that, the humdrum monster they'd seen a million times suddenly felt like something new and mysterious.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you, Gabe, because I feel like this is
Seriously.
the tune I keep singing every episode. Is just do a palette swap, do a reskin. Like, you do not have to create monsters from scratch, and I you can, like, absolutely you can, but for the most part, what you're looking for already exists, just with a different color on it. I mean, how many people's favorite Mortal Kombat carrier was Scorpion or Sub-Zero or Reptile or Ermac or Noob, and the list goes on. Scarlet, Frost, and Jade, and like, they're the same fucking character at the end of the day.
Same thing, yeah. But they somehow feel fresh with small changes and a new face. Yeah,
that's exactly it. A little bit of button changes and some different colors. Like, it is insane how easily you can subvert expectations just by, in this case, making it look like an alligator instead of making it look like a porcine. Like, this is a perfect example of what we're always saying, and I really appreciate.
We tend to mention we don't like this mechanic, change it this way, add that in, take that out, blah blah blah. But here's Gabe with, like, I think the only real difference in mechanic he might have added is the two heads tugging at the same target to try and get the meal. You're not going to get that even in the two-headed troll.
It's just a reskin of Rend.
Right. It's just like, exactly right. And everything is in the flavor and the template and the skin of said creature, and it created a whole new experience for him and his players. And that is such an underrated approach. Really, really cool.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, it's just a more different reskin. Instead of Cave and Frost Troll, it's Troll and Alligator, like hands to mouth. Like, it's cool. The same concept, just applied differently. And I appreciate these more nuanced reskins more than I appreciate it's blue, it deals cold damage now. Okay.
And I love that. In the environment too, I love the idea is, like, we've killed this two-headed alligator, we're going down through the sewers some more, and out pops a second one. Son of a bitch. It's not, though. And when you realize afterward, you go, oh damn, we had to fight the same creature twice. It feels like makes you feel kind of dumb, but also you feel really good about discovering it. It's like, oh, how did we not realize that? Like, obviously there's multiple two-headed alligators down here. No, there isn't, you fools. It's just this great eureka moment. It's just like a refresher. And it's great stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that he was able to include the trope of alligators in the sewers from our world. I always love that urban legend.
It's so good. Good. Yeah. All right, but that's it. That's all I got. We've gone so long. Oh, jeez. Trollvember.
That is Trollvember, folks. Big thank you to Freeman for running this. Huge thank you to Gabe for including those anecdotes and those stories. And we want to hear from you. Originally, there was a section of this show where we reached out to our audience members to look for stories like that. But we realized very early on it spoils the episode coming out, so we kind of stopped doing that. But that doesn't mean we don't want to hear these stories. We absolutely want to hear them. And that's one of the main reasons why we spun up that email so fast, is info@encounterthis, is because we want you to tell us your long-winded stories.
Yeah.
We love reading that stuff, and we will come back and revisit it on the show or even in the Discord. Like, there's a huge community of people who love the Homebrew section in the Discord.
Yeah.
So if you don't want to shoot us an email, if you're from the future, pop over there and check that out. That is, again, unchartednorth.com/Discord. All of our socials are linked in the description below in both the YouTube and the podcast version. If you're watching this on YouTube, if you could hit the bell, subscribe, all that stuff to get notified when new episodes come out. If you're listening on via audio, if you could rate and review on your platform of choice, Apple, Spotify, it all helps new people find us. If you really like the show and you want to help us make more of these or do larger suites or include some new stuff to it, every little bit really does help. You can head over to patreon.com/unchartednorth. $5 a month will get you a handwritten thank you letter and some themed goodies, stickers, buttons, that kind of stuff. And for $10 a month, you can suggest a creature. Like our most recent creature wasn't part of the suite, the Nixie, the Skull Taker. We've done a couple of Patreon ones recently, and those are always a blast. Usually they take us down roads we wouldn't go our own way, which is always so much fun.
It's always fun to see some suggestions. We're like, try this. I'm like, the hell is that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Usually if a listener suggests a creature, they give us some insight into why they suggested those creatures, and we can include that, and that always helps. We love having people part of the process like that.
You know, we have one kind of in the chamber, as it were, too, that it won't come out, I think, till February, March. I have it planned around that time for a very specific reason, but I'm looking forward to covering it. It's gonna be really cool.
That's news to me, but that's great. Yeah. I'm glad he's got a plan. If you have an experience with trolls and you don't want to do any of those stuff, also, if you're on the YouTube, feel free to leave those in the comments below. I am trying to get better about checking those and responding to those. I'm just not a social media person, so having to force that into my daily life has been a struggle, but I really am trying to get better at it. So I know that is part of the YouTube game, and I quite like making this video content for y'all. So
Soup's fun.
Yeah. So that'll be it for this week. We will see you again in December, I guess. I don't know if it's going to be 1 week from now or 2 weeks from now with our next most episode, which will decidedly not be troll themed, though it may or may not feature regeneration, because I don't know what we're doing.
We still have to figure that one out. Trollvember was a lot of work alongside everything else.
There's a lot happening behind the scenes for the Uncharted North Network right now. So hold on to your butts for early 2024, because things are going to get... we're going to have some really cool stuff start dropping in January.
Buckle up. Yeah. As I said to the players on STT, buckle up.
All right. Thanks listeners,
everyone.
And we will see you again in December.
Until next time, creatures, thanks, as always, for listening to Encounter This.